There's one surefire way to never feel confused with your finances again. So, whether you're trying to solve for paying off debt, whether you're trying to solve for saving more money, or whether you're just trying to solve for feeling less stressed with your finances on a regular basis, this one universal strategy is going to help you reach those financial goals. And we're going to go over a recent survey that was done with numbers to kind of back this up as well. But I can vouch for it as it's the one thing that allowed me going from paycheck to paycheck, not having any financial goals, to eventually paying off $43,000 of debt in just 13 months. But before I reveal what this mystery strategy is, I need to share the story about how I kind of stumbled upon it because it adds enough context, adds a lot of helpful information. So, over 10 years ago, like I just mentioned, I was poor. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was focused on, staying busy, like filling up my calendar with stuff. And, what happens when you do stuff is that you probably have to pay for the stuff, right? So you fill up your calendar with the stuff, you pay for the stuff, and then you just kind of go through this vicious cycle. You keep waking up, you go to work, and then it's the weekend, you do the stuff thing, and then you go back and you're wondering why, or at least I was wondering why, what was going on. And so I was about to make the biggest purchase of my life up until that point. Okay. It was a brand new car. And I was sitting at work one Friday afternoon. The next day, I was going to go to the dealership to pick it up. I was all excited. So it was Friday afternoon. I'm literally watching the clock go down. Like, come on, come on, come on. Like, I wanted to get out of there, get the night going so I could wake up, get the car in the morning. But then for some reason, all of a sudden, my heart just like sunk and there was panic. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I even have enough money in my bank account to be able to give them the check that they asked for in the morning? So I scrambled uh, to my bank account. I think I went online. I don't think I had a mobile app back then. It doesn't matter, but I checked and I was $1,500 short of what I needed to give them the next day. And I was like, oh, wow. So to make a long story shorter, eventually, so my girlfriend at the time, she's my now wife, she was somehow able to put together that $1,500 and send it to me. However, it was not going to get to my bank account in time for the check to clear, right? So I'm like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, I just like messed up the sale of this car. Like they're not going to give me the car. So I go there the next day on the Saturday and I tell them my sob story, right? Like, when, like, please help me. And they agreed not to uh, deposit the check until like Tuesday. I was like, the money is on its way in my bank account. Just please don't cash the check. They agreed. I was able to drive off the lot. I was shocked. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, but um, I drove off with the car. And I think a lot of people, when they get a new car, they are stoked. They're driving home or wherever they're going. They're playing with the new gadgets. The windows are open, right? They're like, yeah, new car stuff. They're blasting the radio. And me, I was just sitting there in silence with my thoughts because I was like, I was furious with myself that I would let something like that get to that opportunity, get to that point. And what I didn't tell you is I went to school for accounting. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and at this point in my life, it was like my early mid 20s. I didn't have an accounting job yet. I had, a skill adjacent job at the time, but I'd graduated with an accounting degree. I was telling everyone, including myself, that I was good with, numbers and, finances and whatever, all this other stuff. But the actions that I was taking in my life, AKA my personal finance situation, were not aligned with that reality. I was lying to myself about who I was or who I wanted to be. Okay. And that sort of spiraled this whole process where I just took a step back and I was like auditing my life. Essentially, I was like, well, what am I doing wrong here? And I drew a line in the sand. I was like, I'm not sure what the issue is yet, but this can never happen again. And it all boiled down to, for me, I was like, well, let's start somewhere simple. I was like, the problem that came from the car thing was, one, I wasn't organized with my money, but I didn't know how much money was even in my bank account. So maybe I should just start there. Maybe I should just start tracking the amount of money that's in my bank account. That way, if, I wake up one morning and someone just randomly asked me, I'd be able to tell them, right? And so I did that every morning for, I don't know, 45, 60 days in a row. I just literally like woke up, How much is in my bank account? And I just kind of kept track of that. I woke up, I did that day after day after day. And I was like, okay, that's great. I just built up a habit of, checking, but it's not really doing anything. Like I still don't really know like when my pay when my account goes up, when it goes down, am I making more money at the end of the month? Because I wasn't really tracking like, oh, okay, day 1 of the month it's on this, day 30 of the month it's on this. So it was just kind of every day, okay, here's the amount, here's the amount, here's the amount. So it's like, okay, well, it'd be pretty helpful if I understood like, am I making money every month? Am I losing money every month? Like what's going on here? So I started just kind of really trying to understand, like, even like the days I got paid, I was a complete disaster, guys. Like I didn't know when anything was happening. So like, all right, these are the days I get paid. Okay. These are the days when my biggest bills are due and they come out. Okay, these are the days when my automatic whatever comes out. Okay, these are the days that I want to allocate towards grocery shopping or whatever, right? The things that we can control is like how do we sort of set that up and think logically about where all our money's going. So it was more of just like okay, let's just kind of see what's going on here. Tracks, look at some of the expenses, understand when the income's coming in. And then it's like, okay, this is great, but like what kind of expenses? Like what's like a percentage maybe breakdown of how much money I'm spending in all these categories, and not necessarily percent, but it's like, am I spending a lot? I didn't know the total at the end of the month for all the categories. So I signed up for this really rinky dinky free budgeting app on my phone. And I was like, okay, every time I make a purchase, I'm going to, get back to the car, or, if it was on my phone, just do it right away and just type it in like, okay, groceries, 100 bucks, whatever it was. Right. And I would do that for the month. And I was like, oh, wow. So that was really eye opening for me of where my money was going, how I was spending it. And then after the first month, it was like, huh, well, I overspent in, overspent. I spent a lot of money in, we'll call it like restaurants, dining out, food delivery, whatever. So it's like, huh, okay, maybe let's just try to cut back this month and then see what happens. So I tried that, and that would be, that would get cut back. But then there would be something else that came up. It's like, oh, I blew out a tire this month, and I had to pay for that. It was an unexpected thing, and it's like, huh, okay, well, like, how can I solve for this? So it's just this like revolving door of figuring it out, doing it, trying to solve problems on the way, and then realizing, understanding that every new month is a new opportunity to make an effort. And so the secret mystery universal strategy that I was talking about in this video, it's budgeting, right? It's budgeting. If you didn't know by now, surprise, it's budgeting. And before you click off the video thinking like, oh my God, another person talking about budgeting, you're rolling your eyes, you're stressed about having to look at your finances. I was there. So that's why I wanted to share that story first, because it's like even someone who went to school for accounting had no idea what he was doing, because I had made assumptions that I was just good at this stuff. And I wasn't. You have to do the thing, and you have to figure it out yourself. You have to do the thing and figure it out. And that's what I was doing. So budgeting, let me know what you guys think about budgeting, either whether you're watching this now or watching this later. Do you think it's something that, like, what's the first word that comes to mind when you think about budgeting? I'd be really interested to kind of see that, because for me, the first word that comes up for budgeting is intentionality. I think a lot of people would probably think or write maybe the word restrictive, or cutting expenses, or it's like this negative connotation towards it, where it's like, oh God, I have to budget and I have to like cut all this spending and my life's going to be miserable and I have to eat rice and beans and all this other stuff. And it doesn't have to be like that, because how I like to think about it, and what I kind of share inside of my free personal finance community, which I'll show you in a second. A budget shows us what we can do with our money. It doesn't show us what we can't do. So if we kind of have a positive spin on the process, the thought of budgeting, I think that really helps out. It's like, oh, this is just going to show me like how I can navigate my finances every week, every month, every year. Um, and really like the carrot that we want to dangle to ourselves, however long of a time frame out, is the financial goal that we're trying to solve for, right? Like I spoke about in the beginning. Are you trying to solve for paying down your debt? Are you trying to solve for saving more money? Are you just trying to solve for like feeling comfortable and not stressing and not knowing, right? So that's the big thing, because it's like at the end of the day, we want to see where our money's going. We want to see what we're doing with our money. And we have to ask ourselves, is where this money's going, is it aligned with the things that we say matter the most? And I call these your North Star goals. Okay. So it's make a list of 2, 5, 10 things, whatever, however many things. Everyone's list is going to be different, which is great because everyone has different interests and, needs and obligations, right? Everyone has, like, I have 2 kids, you might not have any kids. So like obviously there's going to be probably a lot of stuff on my North Star goals about kid stuff, right? Like, okay, how am I going to keep them? I got to keep them entertained. I need to like do activities with them, but I also need to think about their future with like putting money into, a future account, letting it grow, blah, blah, blah. So it's like everyone's list is going to be different. And I say that because after working with some people, one of the, I don't want to say weird because it's just like abstract. It's a little different of a thing that someone put on their list, right? Basically, this guy has been going to get this like family barber, I suppose, and he's been going there for like almost 2 decades. And he's like, yeah, these haircuts are very expensive. It's like $80 a haircut. However, this guy's basically family, and it's not a negotiate. Like I'm not going to stop going there. Essentially, it was like, great, put that on your North Star goal list. It's like going to, Don's barber, right? Whatever. So whatever you have on your list, and then once you have that list, it's you look at where your money has been going, because where your money, not just your money, even where like your money, your time, your effort, where that's going, that's telling you these are the things that I care about the most, because these are all limited resources. Not everyone has unlimited money, unlimited time, unlimited effort. Like I don't know, we need to sleep, right? So we only have a certain amount of resources. So if we're, in tens of thousands of dollars of debt, like I was, and if you're watching Netflix 2 to 4 hours a night, like me and my wife used to do, if you're like all these things, right? And you look at like, wow, like I could do so much, I could do so much better than this. Like I'm in all this debt because I'm just not in control of my money. I'm just sitting on the couch binge watching these great shows because I'm not focused on my time, and I'm not focused on the value that I can bring to the world in some other venture maybe, or just like trying to improve the skills that I have or learn new skills, right? It's like, so you just have to kind of think like limited resources, how am I using them, and what can I do with them? So this is exactly what I kind of teach in my free personal finance community, and I'm pulling it up now. It's called Dollar Discipline University. Okay. So in here, so basically what I'm helping people do is build up their personal finance foundation and maybe unlearn a money habit or two that has been keeping them stuck. Okay, so here's just the conversations here. It's an awesome community. All these people in here are just they're on the journey. They're on the journey. Everyone's at slightly different stages in the journey, but everyone's on the journey and everyone's trying to in this community, I specifically focus on people trying to pay off debt. Okay, so people come in, and what I'm doing now with all new members is I'm doing a free strategy call. Which, by the way, everything inside this community, including my time, is free for now until my calendar just gets completely stupid. But if that's something that interests you, the link is down in the description of this live stream. So it's school.com/debt. That's the link. It's down in the description. And again, all free members get a free strategy call. We can kind of, introduce ourselves. We can figure out, okay, what maybe do you think your challenges are? Where do you want to go with your finances? And then we try and come up with a plan I call it the messy middle. right? Because it's like there's no wrong way to get to the goal, but it has to work for you. Like I could I could tell you like, oh, do this, but you know, it might not work in your life, right? Where it's like, well, I can't do this. So it's like, so it's just that's why it's we just kind of work together and we try to see like what works for you, what works for like how long, how quickly do you want to do this, how intentional do you want to be with your money. So um, yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, if you're still watching this live stream, I'm assuming that you found this helpful so far. And if you'd like to check it out, I'd love to see you in there. Just let me know that you came from one of the live streams, and that would be great. So yeah, I did promise a little survey that was done recently. So I'm just pulling this up in the back end, but it was kind of interesting. Um, it was updated in September 2024, but it does kind of paint a good picture of where we are with stuff in in terms of budgeting and personal finance stuff. So it was debt.com. And kind of the thing was budgeting survey, more Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, even though more are budgeting. And we're going to get into this in a second because I believe this survey was kind of done. They asked the individuals to kind of self-assess. And I'm going to talk about what I'm saying in a second. But this is pretty intriguing. The percentage of people who say budgeting has helped them get out of or stay out of debt has increased from 73% to 89%. So over the last 6 years, people are saying that, yeah, hey, budgeting has helped me with debt in some sort of way. And I personally love to see that because, again, this is what I am spending my time helping people do inside of Dollar Discipline University. So to go up 16% in 6 years is great. Now, were they asking the same population over the last 6 years? What was the variance in like whatever? You get what I'm saying. There could be some differences, but anyway, that's great that people are self-assessing. Like, yes, budgeting has helped me avoid debt or stay out of debt, and that's great. So let's go down here. What percentage of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? The percentage of people living paycheck to paycheck has apparently increased. So in 2024, it's 60%. 2022 and 2023, half of the respondents said that they were living paycheck to paycheck. Now, how do you personally define living paycheck to paycheck? Because I think it might be slightly different for everyone, but I think the premise is essentially like you basically need all your money from the last check. You basically need all your money that you make for 1 month. Like 1 month of income equals 1 month of expenses, more or less, right? Um, and it's like if you were to God forbid lose your job, like this person would be in trouble. Whoever said yes, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But yeah, I'm interested to find out like what do you guys think? What do you think living paycheck to paycheck means? Okay, this one I want to talk a bit about because I don't think this is right. And again, depending on who they asked 1,000 people, so they could have asked people that are budgeting. But okay, how many people budget? So the percentage of people that say that they budget went from 70% to 90%. So it went from 7 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 people, which good. If that's actually happening, then great. However, after speaking with dozens and dozens and dozens of people in their own personal finances, obviously one of the main questions that I ask people in the beginning of kind of introducing, it's like, hey, so, do you budget? Yes or no? And if they say no, it's like, great, here's what we're going to do. If they say yes, I'm like, oh, great. What does that look like? And it varies, right? Sometimes, and I think that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I think the word budgeting, uh, that's why I like to define these words and phrases. That's why I keep asking you guys, like, hey, what do you think this means? Because budgeting to some people, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, just so we can kind of focus on this. Budgeting for some people is kind of just, actually, it's kind of like the story I just talked about with my own thing, whereas, like, okay, there's a couple different variations of how I thought I was budgeting during the process of going from not knowing what I was doing in my bank account, right, to like this extreme version of budgeting, right? So I think people kind of, it's like a sliding thing where it's like, okay, I am like for some people, it's like full on budgeting. Like, yep, I have a app, I have a spreadsheet, and I go in there every month, and I'm tracking. I'm like trying to make sure my budget tie like all this stuff. They're doing the thing, and then there's people that I talk to that say, yes, I budget. I know how much my bills are every month. And by bills they mean maybe the obligations that they owe, like any debt. So it's like, okay, and then utilities or blah, blah, blah. But they're not necessarily tracking groceries or the gas or things that are variable and not necessarily a bill. So there's that. And then there's the people that have said that they budget, um, and they really don't. They're not, and they're just like they understand. It's more like they're looking at their bank account. They're kind of seeing like what their money's doing, kind of like how I talked about in the first example of what I did, where I just like check my bank account. They was just doing like a super high level view of like everything. It's like, well, I started here at the month, I ended here at the month, and they're not really sure what's kind of going on in the month, but to them that's budgeting. So I just wanted to call that out. So we kind of pull that back up on the screen here. I just wanted to call that out because I think 90%, again, depending on who they asked, I think that's extremely high. And if we're saying budgeting, meaning like the version of tracking basically all the transactions that you make, there's no way. I mean, I love you guys if you're watching this. There's no way 90% of people are budgeting the way that I am defining budgeting. But again, if you're watching this now or after, let me know what you guys think. Like, how would you define budgeting? Okay. How many Americans say budgeting helps them get out of debt? Okay, this is the kind of the percentage that I was talking about before. 73% in 2018, 89% in 2024. Now this makes more sense as like a possibility to me. So I think this is fine. I think this is great, by the way, and it just means that maybe people are being more aware that hey, when I track something, it improves, right? If you think about like, if let's say I wanted to lose 20 pounds and I just refuse to step on a scale or go on a scale ever, or think about the food that I was putting in my body or exercising I was or was not doing, I wasn't going to think about any of that, but I just wanted to lose weight. It's like, well, you're not going to lose weight by doing that. So it's the same thing with like, hey, I want to pay down debt, but I have no idea what's going on with my money, right? It's like, well, that's not going to work out. And this was interesting. So why people don't budget? And you got to let me know this too, guys. I'm asking a lot from you right now. I'm asking a lot of, it's like a Q&A for you, this back portion of the live stream here. But 30% of women say, I don't have much income. So 3 out of 10 women are saying they don't budget because they don't have much income. And basically 1/3 of men are saying it's too time consuming. Now, I got up sharing for this because those are limiting beliefs around budgeting. And I don't mean to come off like mean or rude or anything like that. But again, it's just my experience of my own personal finances and speaking with dozens and dozens of people and families around their personal finances. One, it doesn't matter how much income you make, anyone can budget. Budgeting is for any person living in any country, any gender, any race, any, currency. It doesn't matter. If you make $1 or $1 billion, you can still budget like your finances. Um, so I think that one for 3 out of 10 women to say that they don't budget because they have low income, or sorry, I don't have much income. Um, I think if you want to win in the personal finance thing, and if you kind of think like that too, I think you just have to rethink about sort of in your mind configure like, if I actually want this thing to work, maybe I need to add that positive spin on it. Because again, a budget doesn't tell us what we can't do with our money, it shows us what we can do. So even if you're making, and just for an example, I've literally coached people making less than $50,000 a year, and they have no debt, and they're putting money towards, well, whatever financial goal they're working on right now. So they're saving money, maybe, right? And then I've also worked with people where the households, they're making over $200,000 and they're in a ton of debt, and they have no financial plan, and they're stressed. But they make 4 times the amount as this other person that was doing the thing. They're out of debt, they're saving money, whatever, right? So income has nothing to do with it, because again, if income had something to do with it, um, you know, people making over $100,000 a year wouldn't be having an issue. But it's a challenge, and I speak from experience, okay? So I'm not this isn't to put anyone down. This is like, hey, I'm talking to my previous self as well. Now, the men one, right? The one third saying it's too time consuming. Again, it's what kind of resources do we have? We don't have a lot, right? We don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of money. We can only put in so much effort before we need to sleep and eat, right? All this human stuff. But if you want the personal finance thing to work, again, it's the same thing as the too much income. Then you have to sort of look at, so after you did the North Star goal list, kind of reassess, because the North Star goal list isn't just about money. It could be about time too. And time is such a big thing. It's like, okay, where am I putting my time where I'm saying that I don't have enough time? Because like if you're, you know, I could see if you're like waking up, you work for 12 to 14 hours, and then you like basically go home and eat dinner and you exercise and then you go to sleep. It's like, okay, that's tough, right? But there's got to be like a window of opportunity. But if you're like, you're, everyone needs downtime, right? But if you're like watching TV a lot or the Netflix thing, it's like maybe you need to reevaluate your time. And this was a big problem for me. Again, my wife and I, we were watching shows every single night for hours, hours. We went through so many like shows and series. It was crazy. Um, Favorite one though from back in the day, I don't know, 24. Do you guys know what that is? 24. I was a big 24 fan. That was we're talking 20 years ago. But anyway, I digress. So it's just, what is your priority? And what helped me is even doing a little like time audit of my day, of my week, and just trying to see like, hey, what am I doing during this time? Because when you start a time audit, and the last thing you want to do is like, oh, I watch Netflix for 4 hours, right? You want to be like, ooh, this is normally when I watch Netflix, but like I'm tracking it now. So I kind of need to do something else a little more productive. Maybe it's like, okay, yeah, I'll just watch Netflix for 1 hour, but these other 3 hours, I'm gonna, fix that thing around the house I've been meaning to fix. I'm gonna spend an hour on my finances, and I'm gonna, I don't know, do push-ups for an hour, right? Whatever. So it's just something to think about, because I think these are what I call limiting beliefs. So these are easily fixable. One, income, sure, you might have low income, but you could still budget low income. And then time consuming, um you have an hour a week or half an hour a week to kind of look at your finances and see what's going on. Okay. Okay. This one, are men or women more likely to stay debt free without a budget? So the men said they were more likely to have stayed debt free with what? Men were more likely to say they have stayed debt free without a budget, and women were 56%. Not too much here. I'm not going to dive into this one here. This was interesting. Which generation of Americans is most likely to stay debt free without a budget? And then we go down here. So basically, the baby boomers are crushing it. Basically, the baby boomers are like, yeah, I'm going to stay out of debt. Without budgeting, 75%. But every other generation is basically a coin flip. So that's why budgeting is just so important. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, and then this was the last one here. Where in the US are Americans more likely to budget their money? So you look at some of the higher areas here. We have like the middle Atlantic here. We have the South Atlantic, the Pacific, and then you can see some of these other ones here. So, um, if you're in the United States, what part of the country are you from? And do you think that this is a accurate depiction of kind of what you think happens around you? Just yeah, just curious. Just curious. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to go back into dollar discipline. Again, if you're watching this still so far, I know that you're very serious about your personal finances, and I'd like to see how I can help you kind of improve that. Um, as you can see here, so within the last couple of days, Daniel jumped in here. And this is what he wrote. Chris and his financial help have been a great asset for me and my family. Before meeting Chris, we had a paper and pen budget, and we are always making errors on. His budgeting tools and debt calculator gave us an easy way to look at our money and know where it is going every month. Chris has been a great sounding board. Having a guy like him bounce ideas, blah, 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 blah. With his help and insights, we have confidence to make a decision on consolidating our debts, which freed up over $1,000 a month for our family. Okay. And the tools that he's referencing, they are completely free inside of my community, Dollar Discipline University. So there's a budget template, there is a debt payment calculator, and the people are enjoying them. And then we have Janine. I'm about to finish up my first month while using Chris's budget spreadsheet, and I actually feel like I have control and knowledge around my finances. Although not perfect, I am no longer burying my head guesstimating where my money is and where it is going. I feel like having him help these financial demons of months past gave me clarity and allowed me to take the first steps to begin creating freedom and wealth. I've worked with 3 other financial people and have never gotten this far in progress. 1 credit card paid off and just 4 more to go in just the first month. So she literally joined. We had had a strategy call. We set up another call, and basically at the end of that call, she had a credit card paid off. It was 30 days. Okay, and again, she paid me nothing. All these people are paying me nothing. So if you're interested, down in the description of this video, get my calendar to be as full as humanly possible because I'm trying to help out as many people as I can. And before I turn some sort of monetization structure to this. But right now I want to help people for free. I want people to get wins in their personal finances, like me and my wife have been able to. Okay. And yeah, just live a little more stress free. Like, don't we want that in our lives? Just be a little stress free. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Again, if you're watching this far, you're a legend. Smash the like button so I know that you're here. And I'm going live every Thursday night, between 7 and 7:30 p.m. So kind of check out for when I'm posting these live streams, when I'm going live. It kind of depends on the 2 kids and their bedtime and stuff that's going on around the house. So it's probably going to be closer to 7 o'clock these days. In the past, it's been 7:30, but 7 o'clock is probably going to be a good time. And yeah, guys, stay good. I'll see you in the next one.